Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Garage Noise. And in this episode, we're going to talk about laying glass, how you can get that mirror-like finish in your clear coat. I'm going to give you all the techniques I use to get that mirror-like finish. And by the way, we're going to be doing it with a budget $100 gun. So let's get started. This is the gun we'll be using. This is the Acer Nito EVOT 13. And it's a budget gun. I think it runs around $104. I'll put the links in the description. It atomizes very well, has low overspray, medium air consumption, but it's a good budget gun that you can get a glass-like finish out of this gun. And the reason I'm using this gun is I want to show you that you don't need a $600 or $700 gun to get a good mirror-like finish. You can do it with a budget gun, and this is the one we'll use today. I will leave the link in the description for this gun. I will leave a link to all the products and tools I use, and you can check them out for yourself. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the air pressure. The air pressure settings you're going to want to use are going to be totally different for every person. I can give you a good baseline to start with, and this is what I recommend. I recommend starting with 26 PSI, 2.5 turns out on the volume. This is your volume here. So you just turn it all the way in and then turn it 1, 2.5 turns out for your volume. That is a good baseline to start with. On this gun, I would open the fan pattern all the way. This has a good fan pattern when it's wide open. Now, some of your cheaper guns, if you have a real cheap gun, your fan pattern may be inconsistent, so it might have more paint at the top and the bottom. That's something you want to avoid when you're trying to get a glass-like finish. You want it to be a consistent spray pattern, okay? If you have to back it down a little bit to get a smaller spray pattern, to get it consistent, then do that. 2.5 turns out, 26 PSI on the air pressure, and that should be a good baseline to start with. Now, what you want to do is, as you're spraying your clear, you want to evaluate the clear as it's laying down on the panel. So when you're spraying it, you're getting it in the light, and you can see how it's laying down on that panel. You can see if it's coming out dry, or if you're getting a lot of material on that panel. If it's coming out dry, you want to adjust your gun. You need to open up the volume just a little bit, and that'll give you more material coming out. If you're getting too much clear coat coming out of the gun, back it down, up your air pressure a little bit, and that'll atomize it just a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is the way you spray. And I'm going to show you this when we spray this panel, because we're going to spray this panel today. I'm going to show you or demonstrate it as I'm spraying. If you look at this gun, this fan pattern comes out. This is the edge of the fan pattern, let's say. This is your panel. You want your fan pattern and your panel to be parallel, two parallel lines, okay? So your even distance at the top and the bottom of your spray pattern. Okay, this is not always easy. Look at this panel here, it has curves to it. So you need to adjust. So when I'm spraying, I want that parallel with the panel. If I have to go over this edge, I'm going to turn it up just a little bit, and I'm always spraying parallel with the panel. That's the number 2 tip, spray parallel to the panel. The next thing you want to look at is your distance from the panel. You should be, on average, and this will change and depending on how you spray. Generally speaking, you should be 4 to 6 inches away, about this distance. When you're spraying, you want a consistent distance, so you want to keep the same distance from that panel as you're spraying. Again, you're going to have to contour with the body of this panel. So here I'm going flat, I'm 4 to 6 inches away, now I'm turning, and I'm going to roll around that panel. Important. These are the things you want to think about until it becomes natural for you. It may not be natural in the beginning, but as you get more experience, you're going to find that it just comes naturally. So focus on these things. The other thing is you want a consistent speed when you're spraying. You don't want to be speeding up and slowing down. You want to have a consistent speed the entire time you're spraying this panel. This allows the clear to lay on that panel in a consistent fashion, and that's what's going to give you that glass-like finish and that high reflection that you're looking for. Go ahead and spray this panel. We'll talk a little bit more about it as I'm spraying. As we're spraying base on this panel, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the materials you're using. Different materials produce better results. There are a ton of different clears out there at all price ranges, from $400 to $500 a gallon to $50 a gallon. The clear I'm using is a Valspar V Series clear. It's a Euro clear, so it's a high solids clear. Personally, I would recommend a high solids clear. It's a denser, thicker clear. It's not as easy to run. It's going to give you a deeper finish, and you can find them relatively reasonably. The clear that I'm spraying, the V Series, runs about $160 a kit. I would leave a link in the description for you guys, but there is not one on Amazon, but you could Google it, and I'm sure you can find it at your local supplier. No matter what clear you choose for your project, the most important thing is to get the right activator for the temperature you're spraying in. If you're spraying on a day that a temperature is over 70 degrees, you need to use a slow activator. And if it's real hot, you may need to use an extra slow. This is very important to get that glass-like finish that you're looking for. And the same thing goes with the paint. You want to use the right reducer for the temperature you're spraying in. This is important to get the best finish possible. I'm going to finish up blending these bed sides, and then we'll talk about the clear coat and how we're laying it down. Okay, so now that we're done with the base, we're ready to lay down the first coat of clear. Now the first coat is going to be a tack coat. We're going to put it on medium to heavy. We're not going to try and bury it in clear. We just want to get a good tack coat on for the second coat, the flow coat. But as you can see, I'm using the techniques I talked about. I'm staying a consistent distance away from the panel as I'm making my passes. I want to overlap 70% on my passes. I'm also going to keep my fan pattern parallel with the panel as I spray. You want to keep a consistent speed. Now I may slow down and speed up as I go, and that will just come with experience. As you're spraying, you know when you can do that and still get a nice finish. As I'm spraying my first coat of clear, I'm evaluating the clear coat and how is it laying down on the panel. Does it look like it's flowing out nicely? Does it have too much texture, or is it dry in areas? And I'm adjusting my speed and the way I spray according to how it's laying on the panel. For example, if I make a pass and I see that it's a little dry, there's not enough material coming out of the gun, there's a couple ways I can adjust that. I can adjust it with my speed by just slowing down a little bit and allowing more material to come out of the gun and land on the panel, or I could adjust it with my volume and turn the volume just up just a little bit to get more material coming out of the gun. How the clear coat is laying down on the first coat of clear is not as critical as the second coat. But on the first coat is when I'm evaluating the clear and I'm checking it out and I'm learning what adjustments I need to make for the second coat so I can get that glass-like finish. Okay, something to note here is I'm breaking up this bedside into sections. So I'm doing one section and then I'm moving on to the next section. I'm not doing the entire panel at once, and you may see me do an entire panel at once. It all just depends on my mood, I guess. Now you can do that. You can go down the whole side and go back and forth and go down the whole side at one time. It's going to be the same results. It just depends how you like to spray it and how you want to break it up. With this curved body, it looks like I'm breaking it up into sections so I can hit those curves and get that glass-like finish. Now we're going to apply the second coat, and this is the final coat of clear, and I have bumped up my pressure just a little bit, around 28 psi, and I'll be spraying at 3 turns out on the volume. Now I'm slowing down just a bit and making sure this clear coat flows out nicely as I spray it. Because of the shape of this panel and the contours, it's easy to get a little run or a sag in the valley of that bedside, right below the top part of that bedside, that valley just below it. So what I'm going to do is I'm spraying the top part of that bed, and then I won't let my overspray go into that valley too much. I just want to do the top part of that bed, and then I'll come back and do the valley directly. Pay attention to how I'm spraying this bedside. I'm going with the contours of the bed, keeping a consistent distance away from the panel and keeping it my fan pattern parallel with that panel. But if you do end up getting a little bit of orange peel or texture or some dust in your paint, don't worry about it. You can always wet sand and buff it out. And if you need to know how to do that, check out the video I'll leave at the end. That'll show you exactly how to correct that and take care of it. I'm finishing up the final coat of clear coat on this side of the bed, and then we'll take a good look at the finished product, examine the reflection, and see how it looks. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you have not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy this content, you can support the channel by subscribing, sharing, liking this video, and clicking the bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And if you want the inside scoop before YouTube, check out my Instagram and my TikTok. Both links are in the description. Here's a good look at the finished product. It has a nice shine, nice gloss, and it has a real nice mirror-like reflection in this paint. And remember, this was done with a $100 gun. You can do this at home. Follow the techniques and tips laid out for you in this video, and you'll be spraying clear like glass. If you want to learn more about paint and body repair, check out my channel, subscribe. We'll see you next time.